Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioner. And last year, I've become familiar with a term that I hadn't heard before, and it was called regulatory capture. And that's a term that was first used in the financial industry, where the people who are being regulated become so comfortable with the people that are regulating them that objectivity disappears. And I think that this whole discussion on the Citizens Board, at best, some Minnesotans may think that something that was done in the 70s is quaint and outdated. At worst, they may think that its time is gone. I think, as having been here 10 years and looking at things we've passed, both sides of the aisle, we tend to institutionalize stakeholder involvement in boards now, more than we did in the 70s or the 80s or the 90s. We actually write into statute special interests being on boards rather than having citizens be on boards, rather than having that objectivity of just regular Minnesotans. And I think, if anything, if we talk to our constituents, regular Minnesotans get it. They get what's happened. They get that it's often the powerful or the connected that have a seat at the table rather than them. And so having citizens involved, and what is that level of involvement, I think, is important. But I think we as a legislature and as a government have to look at how we are writing special interests into decision-making all the time here with boards and commissions, and what the role should be, whether it should be Minnesotans who are there at a board saying what's best for Minnesota versus people being on board saying what's the piece of the pie that I get for my interest, or what is my interest going to want out of this decision. That's a bigger discussion, so I'd be happy if we have that discussion. So I think there is bills in front of us now, there have been bills in the past. What is the best way to involve Minnesotans in a decision rather than just involving the people who are paid to be there to represent that thing? And Mr. Chair, in the past I've offered on some of these boards amendments to say no lobbyists should serve. I think lobbyists could serve on the Citizens Board. I don't think they should, because they have a different role if they're representing that. So we need to talk about how we involve Minnesotans rather than how we involve stakeholders. And what happens here, I know there's plenty of people that are upset with a decision. That's why we're having this discussion. But I think we should talk about the process and who is involved in making decisions and how we can better that for Minnesota.